Hello, this is God7, and today we are going to make some custom music for New Super Mario Bros. 2, although this really applies for any 3DS or Wii U game, except for the part with the Koopas. That's kind of New Super Mario Bros. 2 specific, but what we're going to do is make a song for our level, or music, and we're also going to make Koopas dance to it as well. So what you're going to need are Koopa Harmony and Isabelle's sound editor, and I'll put a link into the description where you can get those. But first thing we're going to do is edit Isabelle. Now what you're going to need is a WAV file and the original file you want to replace. So I'm going to import a file. I'm going to go to my tutorial, and I'm going to select the game stream type and open original. Now this may take a minute or a few seconds depending on your stream, but you can see that it opened properly. And what we want to really take care of are the amount of channels. So we have 5 channels here and tracks, and we have 3 tracks here. So track 1 with 1 and 2, track 2 with 3 and 4, and track 3 with channel 5. Okay, that's all we need to know. Now you're just going to exit out of that. So we have 5 channels and 3 tracks. So let's open our WAV file with Audacity, because we're going to need to do that. Now, very important, before we export this, we need to go into Preferences, and when we go to Import and Export, it's important that Use Custom Mix is selected when exporting tracks. You can't just hit mix down to stereo or mono, because we're going to need those extra tracks in order to get all the channels into Isabelle. So how a New Super Mario Bros. 2 song generally is set up, we have a channel here, the top one, and that's going to be the left audio, and this is going to be the right audio, and then under that we have the left audio for like the coin or the gold ring, and then the right audio with the gold ring, which are overlaid with the original, and then the 5th channel is going to be the drums. But I'm just going to say I'm not going to do that. You could of course do as you will, so I'm just going to add a stereo, then a mono, because the drums are mono and the gold ring is stereo. See, you can see here we have 3 tracks, and we have 5 channels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once you do that, you're going to have to hit File, Export, Export as WAV. Now, it's very important that the type here is called WAV Microsoft Signed 16-bit PCM. It must be a signed 16-bit PCM in order to work with Isabelle. If you don't have that, it's not going to import properly, if it even does. I'm just going to call it test.wave. Alright, now if you enable that setting correctly, you should see we have an option for a number of channels, and we have 5 channels here. Of course you could add more, which is a cool thing, but we just need 5, and we have to have 5 exactly. I don't know why that one's not connected there. There we go. Simple enough. Just make sure all the tracks are connected as you want, and hit OK. OK, we don't really care about that. So now I'm going to reopen Isabelle Sound Editor's Solar Edition at the moment. And what I'm going to do is hit a new file. So I have a new project file. Now I'm just going to hit Add Channels. So I'm going to go to my test.wave. Eventually you should have all 5 channels here. And now I'm going to add 3 tracks. So add that 3 times. I'm going to hook this one up with 1 and 2. This one up with 3 and 4. This one up with 5, and if I go back, all of them should line up properly. If you put it less than 64, the track will play more on the left, and if you put higher than 64, it's going to play on the right. but I want everything to play perfectly in the middle, so I'm just going to do 64. Now the next thing here we need to do is set our loop start and loop end points. So I'm just going to try and figure out where the loop start and loop end would go. Alright, now that I got the loop done working properly, you can, if I go here, you can hear it loops properly. Now you want to go to project info and hit eliminate loop static. What this does is make it so if you loop the file, you will not have static in game. So just to make sure my loop plays correctly, you can see it does. File export binary. But I just want to say one thing about this. The reason why CISP projects exist is so that you can save the proper loop start and loop end points. Because if you export a binary file, what it will do is cut off anything past this loop endpoint. And so after you do that, there's no way to go back and edit the loop end if you want to. So if you're sure you have everything down right, you want to hit export binary, and then we're going to go back to BCSTM because that's what we're going to need it to be. I'm going to call it test. And now this will take a minute. It depends on how long each channel is and how many channels you have. You can see that it already cut off, the editor already cut off anything past the loop endpoint. Alright, you can see I have test.bcstm. It seems to work in foobar. Now you can just exit av Isabel sound editor, and we're going to open up Koopa Harmony. And what this will do is make it so that we can have our Koopas dance along with the music. So you're going to want to hit edit, import song, and then your BCSTM. And the cool thing about Koopa Harmony is you don't need to import the BCSTM. You can import a WAV file or a CISP project, but I recommend doing the one you exported so it matches up 100%. Now once you do that, you can hit new. Alright, so you can see here we have the tempo and the unknown value in the project info. If your song is kind of faster, I recommend hiring this to make the Koopas dance faster, but if they dance slower, then lower it. I'm just going to set this to 120 because I think that's pretty average. But what you want to do is just listen to your song and hit new event every time you want your Koopa to dance to something. Bit here, turn the volume down. Ba ba. Now you can just listen to see if they line up. Alright, so now I'm going to actually start, editing these events. And you can see it takes care of the sample ID for you. And I'm going to explain a bit of the layout here. So when you are playing the song, the current sample you're on is going to show down here. And your selected event is going to show down here. Because when you click away, it's not going to highlight it anymore, and that's just kind of a Windows Forms thing that I can't really help, so that's why I keep track of it here, and trust me, that'll get really useful when we're editing this song. And over here you see we have a button to go to the sample, and we also have a jump to sample here that tells you where I placed the bop or whatever. So if I jump to this sample, you can see that the first two events would be da da. So I'm just going to make him swing left, change event, and then swing right, change event. So now if I play this, alright, you think you might be done here, but you're not, because what you're actually going to need to do is make it so events play after the loop, and so you need to do the exact same thing you did before. Alright, and now you're going to want to do and kind of make it like you have originally, except when you're editing these new ones, you're going to want to make sure after loop is selected. Alright, now that we set them all to our dance moves, if we look, all of these boxes should be set to play after the loop, and none of these will be before the loop. So if we were to go back and play our song, and you can see the little Koopa will dance. I'm not really too worried about the timing here because I'm just kind of doing this for the sake of the tutorial. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save it as a binary beat identification. You can't really save it as anything else actually. So test, and you can see here we will have a 580 byte BBID file. So now what I'm going to do is connect my micro SD card. Alright, I'm going to name this to whatever I had there. So rename the stream to that. Then in the BGM info data, if it has a BBID, you can replace it. Some songs may not have a BBID. You might have just wasted your time if it didn't. It's good to double check if it does or not. Alright, now that we have our BBID and BCSTM injected into the game, assuming you know how to patch your game, let's go see how it works. Right, so I'm going to enter the level. And you can see we have the custom music playing. And you can see the Koopas dance along with our music. You can see that's a little off because of how lazy I was to put it and make it line up properly. And you can see that the song loops properly. This has been another tutorial, and I'll see you all later.